John 8:47. Whoever is of God hears the words of God. The reason why you do not hear them is that you are not of God. This is how Jesus summed up the conversation he was having with the Jews in Jerusalem. And remember, when John uses the term Jews, he's not referring to the whole race of people, but only the unbelieving Israelites who attacked Jesus, who were from the region of Judea. To begin, I think I want to explain a little bit further this origin of the word Jews and where it comes from. To begin, Judah was part of the 12 tribes of Jacob. He was a son of Jacob. And a whole tribe of Israelites was given the name of Judah. When the people of Israel were given the promised land, they divided up the regions according to the tribes. You can see Judah on the pale green lower part of this map with all the other tribes. That is Judah. After the age of King Solomon, the nation of Israel split into two kingdoms because the northernmost 10 tribes didn't like the son of Solomon, Rehoboam, who was weak. They split off and they formed a nation called Israel. And so there were two kingdoms. The southern kingdom remained around Jerusalem and took on the name of Judah. So the two kingdoms, Judah and Israel. The people of Judah would begin to be called Judeans, which is the word that is now translated in most languages as Jews. But the term was used to refer to all descendants of Abraham, being that way, would not begin until just before the New Testament period. Alexander the Great came crashing through, then the Romans came crashing through, and since they saw the center of things to be in Jerusalem, they began calling all descendants of Abraham Jews. But as I said, when John used the term Israel to refer to Israelites, he was talking only about the nasty, non-believing Jews who attacked Jesus all the time, who lived in Jerusalem. That's typically, he wasn't talking about a whole race of people. One of the main themes of John was this confrontation of Jesus with the formal religious officials. In fact, he said in the first chapter of his book, he came unto his own, and his own received him not. And we see that play out in all of the gospel. Welcome to 10-Minute Bible Study, wherein we're studying the Gospel of John in 10-minute, easily digestible bites 5 times a week. So Jesus basically tells the Jews that they can't accept him or his words because they're not believers in God. To us, that seems like something really audacious to say. And for us to say something like that would be very audacious. Because we cannot see into a person's heart. We don't know what a person believes. But Jesus is different. Early on in John 2:25, we get an explanation. But Jesus, on his part, did not entrust himself to them because he knew all people, and he needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man. Unlike us, Jesus knew people's hearts. He always knew, for instance, that there would be someone who would betray him early on. He knew about Judas. He knew also what was going on in the hearts of these Jewish fellows that he was talking with. So without reservation, he could say that they were not of God. We're certainly on our way to coming to that conclusion about these guys by simply watching how they act, but we're not quite ready to say that because we cannot see what's in their hearts. We don't know what's cooking there. Because of that, Jesus could say, whoever is of God hears the words of God. The reason why you do not hear them is you are not of God. And so what was the reaction of the Jews to this? They answered, "Are we not right in saying that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" Okay, they've descended into name calling. Oh yeah, we know that you're a filthy Samaritan, and you're also demon possessed. This is probably how they talked about Jesus in private. But now what they said in private was coming out in public because they were flustered and really didn't have a comeback to respond to what Jesus said. Still, calling him a Samaritan was rather odd, the fact that they would say that. Now, how could they say that? Well, to them, Jesus seemed to be a little lax with the way he approached things, like the Samaritans were. The Samaritans were a little lax, a different way from what Jesus was, but nonetheless lax. And if you and I were standing in the place of these Jews, we would call Jesus maybe a liberal or a hippie or something like that. They were still smarting about the way that Jesus walked into the pool of Bethesda and healed that man on the Sabbath. That's the one thing that was really cheesing the Jews off in Jerusalem, that he healed on the Sabbath. You weren't supposed to heal on the Sabbath. You're supposed to rest. That meant you couldn't heal. And here's the thing. That's not God's law. That was the laws that they added on top of God's law about the Sabbath. But they followed their laws, as if they were God's law. This is what made them so annoying and so very wrong. In some ways, what happened to Jesus is the same thing that happened to Martin Luther. Luther just kept saying, what does the Bible say about this? What does the Bible say about this? Does the Bible say anything about indulgences? Does the Bible say anything about the sacrifice of the Mass? Does the Bible say anything about praying for and to the dead? No, no, and no. And so they wanted to burn Luther at the stake. And many said he was demonically possessed, a heretic that needed to die. Same thing they tried to do to Jesus. Jesus went up against a puffed-up system of religiosity that had built up over many centuries, a system that was in error because it was not according to the words of God. Of course, the grand poobahs at the top of this system, who devoted their lives to its puffery, were going to react badly, because this was their status, this was their purpose, and also this is what profited them. Of course Jesus would be called a goofball, a liberal, an idiot, a Samaritan, demon-possessed, because he was going up against this. John 8:49, Jesus answered, I do not have a demon, and I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. Yet I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Jesus seems to skip over the demon thing. I don't have a demon. But he doesn't really seem to answer the charge. But he does in a roundabout way. The fact that you dishonor Jesus means that you would also dishonor the Father who sent him. Remember the whole Messiah coming into the world thing, taking on flesh, dying in place of all people, walking the earth. That was the Father's plan, which Jesus was carrying out. So when they dishonored what the Father had planned, they were also dishonoring the Father. And they were making their own plans in place of him, following their picayune little man-made rules. And they all would earn themselves a spot in eternity. They were sure of it. That's what happens when religion goes bad. It always descends into this sort of thing. Follow the relatively easy set of rules and follow them, and God will have to let you in. God will have to count you as one of his own. Forget about listening to God and applying what he really says in his word. Just follow my rules, and everything will be fine. Make up your own rules and follow them. God has to honor them. No, he doesn't. And he won't. Jesus says that he does not seek his own glory. Now, this is his roundabout way of answering the demon thing. He's the opposite of any demonically formed plan, which is always about bringing glory to man and stealing God's glory. That's what Satan originally did. He was the glory stealer, trying to steal God's light, and anything that comes after him typically is the same. Glory, as it is a thing that can only be given by God. All glory belongs to God because he's the creator of all of us. If we're great, if we accomplish something, if we figure something out, it's because he's allowed us to. So all glory belongs to God, and nobody can claim it on their own, which is what Satan tried to do. In time, when Jesus has fulfilled what God has commanded him, he would be given glory. He would be glorified. God the Father was always aiming towards that, to ultimately glorify his Son after he redeemed all of mankind. And this is the one who seeks to glorify his Son. And in the end, this is the one who will judge. Take heed, Pharisees, you who glorify yourselves. Take heed to the real judge.